Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The meeting is officially called to order. Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here. We're really lovely turnout. So we'd like to start with the call to order, and then we will do a roll call. So for the members of the advisory board, then, I'm the presiding officer, and I'm present, as it turns out. David Lauderstein. Now, Russell Rust,
Russell Rust, present.
Susan Sparks,
Present.
Paul Stone,
Present.
Karen Vasquez,
Present.
Caroline Guerin,
Present.
Carol Willis,
Present.
Antonio Gracia Jr., not, and we have yet one vacant spot that's not filled. So we have a quorum and are happy to proceed. And the first order on the agenda is to look at approving the minutes from the last meeting. And so I would like to ask the board members to look at your minutes from the last meeting, which was December 17th, 2018. And let me know if there are any amendments, corrections, or additions to the minutes. Take a look. Okay. Are there any additions, corrections, amendments to the minutes? No. May I have a motion then that they be accepted?
I'll
Russ.
approve, oh, go ahead.
Russell Rust, I make a motion to accept the minutes.
And I'll second it, Caroline Guerin.
Okay. Thank you all very much. All right. The first thing we start with, appropriately enough, is public comment, and about 6 people have volunteered. 7 have volunteered. The volunteers are multiplying as we speak. And each person gets 3 minutes. So we'll be keeping time, and I'll just be calling folks in the order in which I received these public comment forms. So let me call upon Christine Huber, please. And if you'll introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Christine Huber.
You might speak into the mic.
Christine Huber. I'm the new program manager for Legislative and Regulatory Affairs for the American Massage Therapy Association. And I'm just here to basically let you see my face, and I'm going to be the one that you will be the public face for the majority. So if you have any questions for me, or if I can be of any assistance in future meetings, please let me know, and I'll have my cards available for you.
Great.
And that's it, under 3 minutes. So there
Oh,
you
under
go.
3 minutes.
Beat that.
You get an award for that. Good job. Thank you. Now, Pamela Ellen Ferguson, please.
Thank you,
You don't get
David.
extra time.
I won't.
However, I know how articulate you are, so we're all ready to hear what you have to say.
I'll be very quick. First of all, thank you very much. It's always great to have this chance to interact with everybody, the board, with Brian, Colleen, and the whole crew. So this is a marvelous opportunity. And really today, I wear 2 hats. First of all, I'm the Texas representative for the AOBTA, the American Organization for Bodywork Therapies of Asia. And as we expressed when we had our December meeting, we always ask for the honoring of our separate profession, that we are not a subsection of massage, and we're certainly not a modality. We're a standalone profession. The organization represents about 15 forms of Asian bodywork therapy. The majority of forms practiced here in Texas, of course, are shiatsu, tuina, and also medical qigong, most of which training comes out of the acupuncture schools. So I simply mention that, unfortunately, my colleagues from Traeger and Reflexology are unable to be here today, but they, like me, we form a kind of loose coalition where we express the needs of our separate national organizations, our training standards, our separate certification, and so on. Most of us are, of course, also LMTs, so it's great. We can speak under two hats. And let me address the second hat now, my LMT hat, that I have heard that there's talk running around about creating a separate exam here independently of the MLEX. And I just question the validity of this and the cost and the admin cost to set up a separate exam, which will only be valid here in Texas, which I think is a great shame because, of course, the MBLEX is national. And I just wonder if it's because some of the massage school students are failing the MBLEX. And so, a second exam seems to be a kind of a step down. So I'm hoping there is going to be a discussion about that because certainly under my LMT hat, I welcome the MBLEX. I have a niece whose husband is a flight instructor with the Air Force, and she's an LMT, and it just helps her as they move from base to base to have that portability of the MBLEX so that she can practice in different states. And I hear this from other colleagues who are in the armed forces, moving from base to base, how helpful it is. Anyway, I think I'm under my 3 minutes. So thank you very much.
Very
indeed.
good. Thank you so much. Great. Could we hear from Brandy Vasquez, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Brandy Vasquez, a licensed massage therapist from Mesquite, Texas. Today I'd like to address to section 455.156, license requirements for massage therapist, in reference to education, subsection G, which references 45 hours dedicated to the massage therapy laws and rules, business practices, and professional ethics standards. When looking at the study of these subjects lumped together, it creates an imbalanced curriculum. 43 hours could be dedicated to business, leaving only an hour each for the other subjects. In an informal poll, the answers given when asked about the amount of time spent on each subject was a disheartening repetitive, I was given a handout and referred to an online source. It is understandable that we teach to the test, because the test is given. But that plan alone detracts from the application and practical practice of the massage therapist. Such important aspects of these subjects are often skimmed over. The actual information actually is complex, and while it would be difficult to cover everything in the hours proposed, an example 15 hours each instead of 45 hours in total, it would still greatly improve the knowledge of the LMT, hopefully leading to greater competence. Greater competence equals a more competent therapist, which leads to a better educated client and patient base, which in turn leads to a positive advancement in our profession. Thank you for your time
Great.
today.
Thank you. As you all may know, with the public comments, they're aimed at the board and TDLR, but we don't comment on the comments or engage in dialogue about it, however important the topics may be. So thank you very much. Okay. Now, Nicole Kosich, please.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Nicole Kosich of Kosich International Institute. I represent myself as a massage therapist, a massage therapy instructor, and a CE provider. This is my son, John Petru, part of my inspiration, along with all of you, and my boss that I once worked for, Alex Matthews, and doctors I work for. First of all, I want to say thank you for forming this board and being such a positive influence towards what massage therapy is really meant to be. And I'm only here today to really announce to anyone interested in massage therapy that I've created a new device and a new technique that is helpful for body workers. It is not only for massage therapists, but it would cover personal trainers, perhaps chiropractors, perhaps physical therapists that are interested in it. So I just wanted to come up and say thank you for the inspiration. He was part of it, as he's been part of a Sheriff's Explorer program and had to wear this belt that was uneven and back issues in a training camp. So I find that it's going to be very helpful for very many repetitive kinds of injuries under the neuromuscular relaxation and therapy types of things. So if anybody wants to contact me out there or here or give me their information so I can please present it to you in a private manner and a business manner, you can always reach me at 512-902-3333. Or you can try my email, which is kinternationalinstitute@gmail.com. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that many of you are inspired by it and interested in it and something you look at as a CE for potential students. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. I'd like to call Kevin Snedden, please.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Snedden, and I'm the Director of Professional Standards for the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. And on behalf of FSMTB, today I came to provide comment about the MBLEX, the Massage and Bodywork Licensure Exam, as well as to offer our continued support to the schools here in Texas. The MBLEX was created at the request of and with input from all of the state regulatory boards and agencies that oversee the profession, including Texas. The desire was to develop an examination that would be utilized by all jurisdictions and assist in facilitating the portability of licensure. Portability of licensure is an important topic to licensed massage therapists here in the state of Texas. Our research showed that the years 2016 through 2018, 20% of Texas residents that took the examination asked that their scores be sent to an additional state agency for licensure in that state. The MBLEX does also facilitate individuals in entering the workforce. The examination measures the competencies and the professional judgment to assess one's ability to safely work on the general public. Qualified candidates sit for the examination and pass it successfully on a daily basis. The MBLEX represents licensed practice of massage therapists in the state of Texas, and there's empirical data to back that fact up. The state of Texas has been represented in the development of the exam since its inception. The 2007 job task analysis that was performed by FSMTB had over 7,500 respondents, and that included every single state in the United States, including Texas. The 2012 job task analysis not only had responses from the state of Texas, but the third highest number of responses, representing 8.5% of all of the responses to that job task analysis. That repeated again in the 2017, the most recent job task analysis. Once more, Texas had the third highest response and a 7% representation of the results. The MBLEX positively reflects school pass rates. 20% of Texas massage therapy training programs maintained a 100% pass rate in the calendar year of 2018. There are many more schools that have at or well above the national passing rate for the MBLEX. Are there schools in Texas with low or poor performing pass rates? There are. And that being said, we, FSMTB, would like to offer our assistance in helping them identify what the root cause of that could potentially be. If it were truly a problem with the examination, with the MBLEX itself, we would see widespread problems and there would be people struggling in every single state, and that's just not the fact. Thank you for all you guys do, and thanks for the opportunity today.
Thank you.
You can't ask for clarification.
Clarification? Sure, go
Not to
ahead.
comment on it. I just had a question, Mr. Snedden, Paul Stone. You had indicated that I believe 2016 through 18, that 20% of the test takers in the state of Texas requested their scores be sent to other states. Is that at a cost to the student, or is that just free? Do they just check a box and they don't have to pay any money?
So I want to clarify that I can't comment. The last meeting, we were told not to respond back.
This is just clarification. I think we can ask for
We
clarification.
can ask clarification, right?
Yeah, but clarification can be a question.
Yeah.
So go on and answer the question, because I think it's
Awesome,
important.
thank
I think
Thank
it's
you
a
for
quick
Yep.
four-letter word.
So when the student applies for the exam, their score gets sent to one state of their choice.
Right.
From that point forward, if they would like that score sent, we do it securely through the secure portal, and there's a $20 fee and a form that they have. We have to have their signature and their approval to transmit that score for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let me call up Laura Embleton, please.
Hello, I'm Laura Embleton. I'm the National Government Relations Director for Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals. We have over 80,000 members nationwide and over 6,800 here in Texas. I wanted to comment a little bit on some of the bills that went through this year. With regards to the human trafficking signs, I was disappointed because I know that you all had talked about it at one point. I really don't think those human trafficking signs in a massage therapy business are going to have an impact on human trafficking because over 90% of licensed massage therapists are not engaged in human trafficking, nor does anybody that's being trafficked going to go into those businesses. So I think it degrades the profession to have that happening. I think that anything to do with human trafficking belongs in the criminal code and not the Practice Act. I don't think we should be taking it down. I'm working on a model act that I hope to take on the road here. I got to write it this week. And then I know FSMTB is also working on an establishment model act, but I really think that we need to quit assuming that all massage therapists are prostitutes or engaged in human trafficking, and this needs to be done in the criminal code with some references back to the Practice Act. So that's where I'm going with that. With regards to the MBLEX, ABMP is strongly in support of the MBLEX as the national licensing exam. It is really hard for people to move from state to state when they don't have that license. I do travel from state to state, and in most states, I go into a place and I'm working with activists on the grounds and our members and board members and schools, and inevitably, I'm working with somebody who has a license in Texas and a license in Montana, or I have a license in California and a license in Texas. And so there are people that leave Texas to go work in these other states. And so it is really important that Texas is one of the largest states in the country, obviously, be able to be part of that national conversation with the national ability to move around. With regards to the job task analysis, FSMTB does a really thorough job of that, and it goes over all aspects of the practice of massage, basic sanitation techniques, and ethics, regardless of geographical location. It's something everybody should know. We recommend for the schools that might not be up to getting a higher pass rate, that we, as a community, we all got together a while ago and created the ELAP, the entry-level analysis project, which kind of outlines different recommendations for education. We have a blueprint in there that would really help the schools that are not doing so well in passing the MBLEX get up to what the community, and it was AMTA and FSMTB and NCBTMB, it was like a rather large community came to this conclusion, which came up with the ELAP, educators from all over the country. So it's a great place to look for what entry-level education looks like to help people get past the MBLEX. So that's what I have to say. I appreciate y'all doing this. I appreciate you guys having this meeting after 6 months, so thank you for the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Next person called up is Raul Flores.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I had a couple of things on my agenda to talk about today, but before I do that, I think whenever we give statistics, I think without context, they're a little misleading. So let me give some very important statistics regarding the MBLEX and pass rates here in Texas. As of January 1st of 2009, through March 31st of this year, 12,300 people in Texas have not been able to pass the MBLEX. 20% sounds great, but what about all of the other people? So I just feel like giving the full picture is very important. As a massage school business consultant, I take exception to the assertion that schools are offered support. Many of them are operating in the blind. They have no clue what to teach in terms of preparing people for the MBLEX. I myself have reached out to the Federation, and I was referred to the content outline. That was the tool that was made available to me. So I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record, because I have a little bit different experience when it comes to the MBLEX. I did want to talk about the ramifications of House Bill 1865 and House Bill 2747. Both of those passed in this legislative session. They include a number of things. Fingerprinting. It's going to require by September 1st of 2021 that all currently licensed therapists undergo fingerprinting and FBI and full background checks as part of the renewal process. All new incoming therapists will undergo the same. At what cost, we're not sure what that's going to be yet, but that will be an additional cost to all therapists, or it seems that it would be an additional cost. The student permit, there's a number of issues related to that affect schools, and we want to make sure we have an opportunity to discuss that in detail. There's also new vetting requirements for massage establishment owners that I think may help to curtail some of the challenges that exist in human trafficking, but I agree with the other commenter that the majority of the human trafficking, an overwhelming majority of human trafficking problems have nothing to do with legitimate massage practitioners and legitimate massage therapy owners or massage establishment owners. I want to reference a couple of government code sections. As we move forward for rulemaking, I want to make sure that this industry is given the full opportunity available to them under Government Code Chapter 2001, Administrative Procedure, General Provisions for Rulemaking, and the purpose of which is, is to provide minimum standards of uniform practice and procedure for state agencies, to provide for public participation in the rulemaking process. Along with that, I want to remind the agency that before adopting a rule, a state agency shall give interested persons a reasonable opportunity to submit data, views, or arguments orally or in writing. A state agency shall grant an opportunity for a public hearing before it adopts a substantive rule if a public hearing is requested by at least 25 people.
Thank you. We're 3 minutes are
Wow, that was so quick.
I'm telling you, sometimes it's an eternity and sometimes it's just a moment.
And there's also a provision for negotiated rulemaking, and I want to make sure we exercise that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. I wanted to address one thing that sometimes people will talk with me or other advisory board members as if we are in charge of TDLR and all of their doings. I just want to assure you, we're consulted with regard to a few things, but we are not the authorities, and we have to maintain a kind of a rigorously neutral position as board members. So I just wanted to kind of remind you all of what the advisory board's role is, and thanks for understanding. So, great. Let us move on to staff reports. And let's see here, who is first? Statistical report. The licensing division.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, Chairman Lottestein and board members. Good to see you again. And you have your statistics reports before you. I have a couple of updates that are good news for applicants that are submitting new and renewal applications. They can upload their documents online. We do have to have the official transcript, so they still have to mail that in. They can't upload that document. For out-of-state applicants, they can go onto our website and look at the substantial equivalent documentation that's out there on the website currently now. We've been getting a lot of supporting documentation sent in to us, and individuals hadn't submitted applications. So if you can remind students or potential students to wait till they submit their application and then to submit the supporting documentation to us, that would be great. That way we can have their entity number once they submitted and set up their file online. We can cross those documents with that individual. And that's all I have.
Russell Rust, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You are looking at me when you say all that, so,
Not much, just by chance.
I previously sent you an email, and it was kind of, I don't know how it can be addressed, but there was a particular person that applied, renewed their license, and they are very, very, very smart intellectual person, and they were at a loss as what to do. It didn't tell them license approved, go here and print it out, or any of that. Whenever they renew their license, and unfortunately my wife does mine, so I never renew. When they do that, once they've submitted that, is there not a link or anything that says congratulations, or how do they know that it's been accepted?
Let me get with my IT people.
Okay.
And check and see what it does show once a person submits their renewal or completes their application.
Okay, and it may be there, it was just not, it just, you know, I mean, congratulations, great,
Right.
and then they know they're good to go, or they need to go to the verification
Right.
page, and they can print out the printed copy until the one actually gets in
Sure,
the mail.
sure.
Okay.
I definitely check into it and get back with
All
you.
right, thank you, ma'am.
Paul Stone, I had a question as well concerning the statistical report. We've got some data on massage LMTs, MTIs, and massage therapy establishments. Obviously, fiscal year 18 is complete, and then we've got the other column, fiscal year 19.
Yes, sir.
And I believe it's September 1 through August 31st fiscal
sir.
year. Are these numbers
Those are
through
the current
end
numbers.
of May?
Yes, yes.
Through the end of
Well,
May?
they will be the numbers up until the point we submitted the report.
Okay.
Which
So
was
it's not
about a
really
week ago.
apples to apples. We've
Yes,
still
sir.
got,
Oh,
still
Till
got
the end
3
of-
months to go, so this is
Yes,
about
sir.
75% of the
Yes,
year
sir.
then roughly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
if you'll remind me, do we normally have you or another person read the numbers, or are they posted? Don't we usually? Yeah.
Give the numbers?
Just a moment, let me pull my numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, sometimes we leave it up to the members to read it, but keep in
Oh,
mind, for all
I
the
could read
advisory
it if you-
boards, all the staff reports for every advisory board meeting are posted on the webpage.
True.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
audience will always have access to that information, so it's not like it's some
Not
hidden
mandatory.
mystery or math problem that no one can solve.
Yes, I understand that. Thank you, thank you. Just for the benefit of this audience, I
Sure,
thought
absolutely.
you might want to hear, and it's not, shouldn't take too long, so if you don't mind, it may be helpful for you to hear this. And thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. So for statistical reports for new licenses that were, so far that was been issued for this fiscal year 2019, it's 1,280. Those renewed was 9,093. A total population for this year so far is 29,589. For massage therapy instructors, we've issued 135 new ones, renewed 423. Total population for the massage instructors is 1,374. Massage establishments, new licenses issued would be 558. Renewed is 322, with a total population for establishments is 2,321.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sure, you.
Okay,
yeah.
online, when you renew your license, it says online application payment successful. Press main menu to return to the main menu. Press view PDF summary to go to the other. But it gives you, and it tells you paid, and
You're complete.
authorization number and a trace number. And then on the bottom, it tells you the application number and the description of what license you renewed.
Okay,
There's your
perfect,
answer. So it is on there.
perfect.
All right. Done. Okay.
David, one second. We got technical difficulty over here.
I'll just look on yours.
Oh, we'll get somebody to take it.
Yeah, we'll get.
It is, but.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And now, is it Customer Service Division? Would that be right, or is that what we just did?
That was licensing.
Customer,
Licensing.
okay, so Customer Service Division, who would be delivering that report?
I'm gonna, Mary Winston to the I'll pinch hit for customer
Hi, Mary,
service.
thank you.
We have, on customer services behalf, we've just moved a whole team from our downtown office to this North Campus. It's about 50 people, a new phone system, it's great, working it out. Yesterday was very successful. Our executive director and our deputy director, Eris Mendez, spent the whole day just kind of over people's shoulders and bugging them, no. But I think it was great, and just making sure everything was great. So, we have a report through May of this year, from September to May, and we have our emails and phone calls. So, it looks, I'm gonna start in September and
Okay.
just end in May, where we have, the totals are similar, but emails in September, 1268. We're down on our email total in May, down to 921. Our phone calls in September, 1714, calls in May, 1675. So this is just giving a running tally of the contacts that we have, and we do this with every profession that we deal with. So our customer service will know, and we all know, what's happening and how much we're reaching and how much you all are reaching back. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will contact customer service and get answers for you.
Do you assume if there are fewer emails and calls that you must be doing a better job?
We feel that way.
That's right. I would
We feel that
imagine
way.
so.
We don't know, but we like to believe it.
That's right, I understand.
Mr. Chairman, we would hope that's the case. but,
Yes.
You know, we're still learning, the massage industry. And there are a lot of similarities in terms of your industry is very sharp in reaching out to us with emails, but we have a responsibility to get those emails answered quickly. If it does, the email turns into a phone call. And so you can see there's a duplication there, and it's just something that we're continuing to work through. You may not be aware of this, but one of the things we learned from the massage industry as well is that there's a lot of what ifs. And so a lot of hypothetical questions will come out. Well, what if my left finger is touching somebody and it's in a rolfing position, but it's Reiki over here, and you're like, oh my gosh. So you have to answer a lot more interesting questions, and we also deal with a lot of rumor. It's something and that's why these meetings are so important, to have a very consistent, here's what's going on, here's what's not happening. Because that rumor mill happens with one person, and then we'll get 5 calls relating to that same thing. Well, we heard that you're going to make all massage therapists, bounce on one leg. And we're like, no, not for a whole day. Just for 30 minutes a day they have to do it. But that's not true either. So that was a joke. That was a jest.
That's a joke.
It was a jest.
Okay.
But our goal is, if we can knock the emails down, it should reduce the phone calls.
Yeah.
Because the quicker we handle those, the quicker we're handling and taking care of our customers. That's something we shoot for.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. Now, let's hear from the Education and Examination Division, please. Were you supposed to be? No, that would be after Lorraine, I guess. Okay, great. Hey.
Good afternoon, Chairman and board members. It's good to see everyone here this afternoon. My name is Lorraine Strofe, and I'm with the Education and Examination Division. We do not have a lot to report since our last meeting, but as many of you know, we have been busy with the industry. The statistic page was provided to you that included the CE provider numbers. It also included the JP exam numbers and also gave you the audit numbers. Those are totals for fiscal year 2019. I also included in our report, which has already been mentioned, the House bills that were passed 1865 and 2747 that would affect your industry. But as of today, unless something's changed, those have not been signed yet.
Something changed last night, but I'll be reporting on that.
All right, that was going to be my next statement, was that our gracious director will have extra information for you later. So,
That's awesome.
a phrase our previous director used to use was "wait to worry." That would definitely be the case for your industry as well. We do have an education group with members from the board that are very helpful in us developing those rules and those procedures, and that will definitely be the case here as well. So I have nothing else to report, but I will be available when you give the education report later in the meeting, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if it is possible, could I move the exec report now? I double booked and I have a 2 o'clock meeting, but I want to make sure I go over the statutory changes with you, and then also outline the work that we're going to be doing together probably for the next 16, 18 months.
Okay.
And then I'll come back after my meeting. We actually moved it from the EOT location to here, so
Sure.
if that's
Sure.
appropriate,
You're welcome.
that's okay.
Please feel free to do that.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I'm Brian France, Executive Director with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. Thank everyone for coming out. This is awesome to have this level of participation. It's what makes this process work the way it does. First of all, I'd like to introduce our newest Deputy Executive Director, Mike Arizmendes. Have him say a few words. Put the timer on him, please.
Yeah, I think the running joke is that I kind of speak more than Brian does, which is kind of hard to believe. So, again, my name is Mike Arizmendes. I'm the Deputy Executive Director. A lot of your names are familiar to me, and the reason for that, as you may know, I was the former chairman of the agency. And again, another running joke, we're full of them over here, is that I went from the dark side to the light side. So I'm now employed with the agency. I came on board in March. So I'm attending this board meeting as a staffer and not a commissioner, which is kind of a new role for me here also. So thanks for allowing me to be here and say a few words. Appreciate your participation in this.
Welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, it's great having him on board. And yes, it's as awkward as you can imagine that your former boss is now working for you. But it's working great. Mike has really turned out to be a great student, and he's really learning the agency. He knows a lot about the agency, but now he's looking underneath the cover and seeing how we have the duct tape and everything holding a lot of stuff together. But it's really great having him on board. So, Mr. Chairman, we included a packet of bills for you. And we'll just kind of go through a few of these, not in detail, but let me tell you about what we can anticipate. So the governor's veto period runs through the 16th of this month. So that's Sunday. And so he still has the ability to veto different bills and that sort of thing. So we really wait until that moment. However, last night, House Bill 1865 was signed by the governor. So that bill will be taking place. Hopefully you've availed yourself of our webpage, which indicates and shows the bills that are impacting the various programs, not just the massage program, but the other programs that we regulate. So let's walk through a few of the bills, and then I'll tell you how TDLR moves from session to session. You've not been with us for a legislative session. You've been part of the team, but not right after a session, so it's important to understand how the process will unfold. The very first thing is it's a partnership, and we're going to have a lot more meetings, folks. We're going to have a lot more conversations about the language and the rules and the processes and really build something together. The statute is a starting point. It sets our authority for what we can do. But in between that authority, we get to craft the hows and the whens and even develop some of the whys related to it. So in House Bill 1865, there are a few things in Section 1. If you look on page 1, we'll go through what I call the sections. So note on line 5, Section 1, line 18, I'll move through the document that way if that's okay. So on line 5, Section 1, that provision is simply taking out the automatic you had a bar from licensure for 5 years. And it now allows us to treat the massage program like we do every other program. We evaluate criminal convictions on a case-by-case basis. We don't make them up. There's no automatic bar, but it says on a case-by-case basis, we can look at this. On Section 2, as one of the folks testified, it would allow for fingerprinting, and more specifically, not just of the massage therapists and the instructors, but also the owners of the different establishments. Not just the owners, but it drills down to the stockholders, depending on how much they have. This provision here is trying to reach to some of those folks that have tried to legitimize their human trafficking efforts. When you look at the trend nationwide, you see individuals that are going through mills, certificate mills, making that person look like a legitimate licensee, putting a license over the name of the building, and making that establishment try to look legitimate. This is going to allow us to sift through that. As the gentleman testified, everybody who is currently a licensee would have to have the fingerprints done by September 1, 2021. I'll have less hair, more gray, but we have time to implement that, and we'll make it happen. This is going to put the program on par with some of our other programs. The hearing instrument fitters have to have a fingerprint. The owners for professional employee organization have a fingerprinting requirement. The speech language pathologists, the audiologists have a fingerprinting requirement. The driver education instructors have a fingerprint requirement. So we have experience in putting these programs in place and making it as seamless and as painless as possible. The new provision says you get the fingerprint once, and that's it. They'll do a feature that they call wrap back that will allow the agency to receive notice if there is a subsequent conviction on that fingerprint. So it's not every year having to get the fingerprint. It'll be a one-time process. On page 3, if you look at section 3, I just changed the word may to shall. Well, we were doing it anyway, so that nudged us in the direction of where we already are. We already perform criminal background checks on everyone. On section 4, line 20, this is the student permit process. For those individuals who have operated a cosmetology school and a massage school, this would create a student permit. For those individuals who are enrolled on or after June 1st, 2020, and it would require the schools, the 60 schools that we currently have, to report on a monthly basis the hours of those students. What it's going to allow us to do is look just like cosmetology, knowing who a student is, knowing when they have their hours completed, making them eligible to sit for the examination, and knowing that they've taken it. Today, we don't know who the students are, and we discover that they're applying for and have already taken the NBLEX examination after the fact. This is just going to allow us to know who is in the schools at the time going forward. It's going to look very similar to the Shears program that Ray may be able to elaborate on more if you need that, that we have for our cosmetology program. It's going to be automated, it's going to be clean, it's going to be crisp. Section 5 is just a follow-up on that section. It allows for and requires the reporting to the department from the schools. We're going to make that automated. Section 6 is repealing a provision that before exempted the students from having a license. So you took that provision out now that you can have the student permit. So it's just harmonizing those elements. And then Section 7, March 1, is requiring the rules to be implemented in place. That becomes a driver for us as a group. March 1, we're going to have some rules in place. So we'll start working in September and making sure that we have enough for the meetings. And one of the folks testified about the avenues that are available for people to provide public information. We do it, and we do it a lot. When you look at TDLR's business model, the rules, the first time they come out, they're coming to this body, and you've seen that. Then we'll put them out for the 30-day comment period. Then they come back to this body saying, here are the comments that were available. Then they go to our commission for a vote, and the public can comment there as well. So we build in the public's input because we know how important that is to making sure that the process works well. The other sections, if you look at section 8, 9, and 10, and 11, those are what we call basically transition clauses. They will enumerate the effective dates. So as I said earlier, students enrolled on or after June 1st, 2020. That's in one of the sections. Schools required to do their reporting July 1st, 2020. That's in another transition section, and so forth. So this language will be available, and it's obviously on our webpage. Mr. Chairman, as we move forward, not just with the massage program, once that veto period is over, TDLR will start doing its heavy lifting of developing what we call bill implementation timelines for all of our programs. And those timelines, as I said, will go out till September of next year. And this timeline for the fingerprinting will go all the way till 2020 and up to 2021. we will have that script of how we're going to move forward with it, whether it's relating to the programming necessary to implement it, whether it's relating to the rules to do it, the form changes, the FAQs, the outreach that we need to do to schools. That's all going to be built in that timeline. It's something that we'll be providing to you, and it becomes the script of how we move forward in this process. House Bill 2452, it has immediate effectiveness. It was signed by the governor. It simply says that if TDLR comes across a case or a situation where our enforcement division needs an expert, somebody who is a licensed massage therapist, to help us with the details of this particular case, if we need an expert for our podiatry program, if we need one for our electrician program, we can go out and we can hire an expert witness to review the complaint information. This simply allows us to bring that person into the mix. As you know, we're typically going to look at the advisory board members first in that role, or advisory members who have served previously on other boards to be involved in it. But this provides them immunity. It basically says, hey, they're just doing the job we asked them to do. So if you're mad because you broke the law and we got you, be mad at Brian. But don't be mad at the people that we asked to help. So it just builds that immunity so the people who are helping us are not brought up in some unfair and inappropriate lawsuits. House Bill 2747, sitting before the governor, and we're waiting to see if it's going to be signed. Or, as you know, a bill can go into effect if it's signed by the governor, or it can go into effect without the governor's signature, or it can be vetoed. Those are the three options that are now available for this particular bill. This bill has several things in it. Number one, it provides for, and I'll find that section for you, on section 3, line 13, page 2. Let me start over. Page 2, line 13, section 3. Okay? That's the posting requirement that was brought up earlier for human trafficking. TDLR's touch in the world of human trafficking is not just exclusively the illicit massage businesses. I know it feels that way because that's your program. But we also have a heavy dose of it, or labor trafficking. And in fact, all trafficking is labor trafficking. Whether there's a sex component or not is a different issue. But all trafficking is labor trafficking. And we experience it in our nails program. There's labor trafficking that takes place there. We experience it in our electrician program, our air conditioning contracting program, our water well driller program. They all have components of human trafficking elements. This is just trying to be one of those tools that may help, or as the witness said, may not. May not, but it may. And all it is a notice, and we will make it as seamless and non-intrusive, and we will not paint this industry like it is something other than what it is, which is a very healthy, nurturing industry. There are people who are degrading the industry. The industry is not degraded. There are people who are doing it. And this is just giving us a tool to maybe help weed those out. But we promise you we will not have images in there of people in chains and people in bondage, because the language that works for getting someone out of human trafficking, it's for the person who's being trafficked to know that there is a number I can call. It's best to have them in the bathroom, believe it or not, because your trafficker is looking at it out here. And those little things simply say, there's hope. There's hope. It stimulates the awareness of that consumer who goes to a legitimate massage facility, sees the signs, and then when they get into a bad one, they know the difference. And they remember the number, 1-888-3737-888. That's the number that can save a life. That's what's on the sign, 1-888-3737-888. There's no chains, there's no, this is a bad place to go, there's no skull and crossbones. It just says 1-888-3737-888. Call if you need help. That's it. And that's what we're going to put on there. And we will run the copies of the signs by you. We're not going to let you make your own, Ms. Ferguson. You're not going to be able to do your little etch and sketch version of it. It's going to be a consistent one. But it's an important piece, y'all. And we will be respectful to your industry. We'll always respect your industry. And when we stumble and make the mistake where we don't, tell us. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. I mean, this outfit probably is not that good, and I won't wear it again. I'll fix it. Just tell me when we're doing something wrong, okay? The other thing I wanted to point out is the requirement, there it is, page 2, line 8, section 2. Page 2, line 8, section 2 has the posting requirement for the photograph on the massage therapist license. So that's a new component that will be included in 2747 if it is signed into law or if the governor allows it to go into law without being signed. That one looks very similar to what you see in a cosmetology and a barber shop, that the pictures are on there as well. House Bill 2847, and I asked the team to only put it on there. They did a great job. So at the bottom, you'll notice that you don't have pages 1 through 16 because they don't impact your industry. But Article 7, beginning at the bottom of page 17, has some touch. It has a little bit of touch to your industry. The first one I'd like to point out is on page 19. This may look familiar. On page 19, beginning on line 9, the new underlined section, that is the same language that says, oh, we can contract with somebody and they have immunity. That was in 2452. Sometimes we big guys like to have belts and suspenders because, you know, we want our pants to stay up. So you want to make sure you have the coverage. So it's very same language that gives us the ability to do the immunity. The other big piece in here is on page 20, and this is the nerd in me because you're like, oh, this is big. It's really not that big, but it's exciting to me. It's exciting to me. So on page 20, line 6, section 7.004, when we inherited the variety of health programs from the Department of State Health Services, and then we also received the podiatry program, every last one of them had a different confidentiality provision. And so my staff in the general counsel's office, when they got an open records request that dealt with hearing language or speech language pathologists, they had to do that one differently. Then they had to do a massage therapist. Then they had to do a podiatrist. What we've done is we created a standard uniform, what we call super confidentiality for our healthcare providers, such as yourself, that it's the same provision. The coolest thing that's added in there, and this is cool, I promise you. This is cool. There is a drum roll taking place in my head right now. I'm building up to its crescendoing. Bam! Here we go.
Whoa.
This is cool.
I feel it, Brian.
Did you feel it?
Yeah.
I felt it too, right? So last year in October of November, I was doing a presentation for the audiologist. And I talked about some of the changes that we were implementing from the last session. And the gentleman gets on the back mic, asks the question, and he says, well, how come you won't give me information about my complaint, Brian? And I knew exactly where he was going. The confidentiality provisions that were in place at the time prevented the agency from providing the person who the complaint was about information about their complaint. That's crazy. But I said, we can't give it to you. So my enforcement division had to do this weird little, hey, there's been a complaint filed against you, and had to like code it in such a way that the person who wanted to defend themselves could get the information. This language builds in as a person who can receive the complaint information, the person who the complaint's filed against. You're like, what? You had to get a law change to do that? Yeah, had to get the law changed to do that. But it's in place now, and it's only fair that a respondent, the person who's being complained against, knows what they're saying and knows what the information is so they can build their defense. So I'm really excited about that piece being there, and that applies to all of our health programs, including the massage program.
Can I just ask you one question? I'm
Oh,
curious.
you can ask me more. I've got two
Thank you.
answers at any given time.
Is the confidentiality of the person who's made the complaint one that, is that information given to the person who, against whom the complaint has been lodged, or has that remained confidential?
It remains confidential in
Okay.
virtually every situation.
Yeah.
There are a few nuances in here, but it does provide anonymity for that individual.
Okay.
However, you know as a practitioner, it's going to be very difficult for Chris and our enforcement division to build a case against Anna, the massage therapist, because Mike has a complaint against her. How are we going to go back and reconstruct that moment without her knowing that? So at some point, to make a case viable, we have to know who the person is, because it's very difficult to say, oh, and who's your witness? Nobody. And what day did it take place? Oh, I can't tell. That's going to reveal it. So there's some things that make anonymous complaints difficult to complete.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Chairman, we're rolling. We're flying through this thing. Senate Bill 37. This one's been signed into law. And my old boss used to say this. There's a lot of gibberish in here, okay? Don't get caught up in the gibberish. But my old boss used to say, what? Are there no debtors' prisons? This provision here would allow a person's license to be denied if they defaulted on their student loan. This takes away that axe, that hammer. So an agency can't revoke a license for a person who's defaulted on their student loan, because if you take away their ability to make a livelihood, then you really guarantee that you're never going to get your money back. So this is across the board. So whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a massage therapist, an electrician, it doesn't matter. This provision impacts all agencies across the board, all occupational licenses.
Interesting.
And, okay, 3 minutes. I only have 3 minutes. The last one that I'm presenting to you is Senate Bill 1217, and this is a section. So when you see Chapter 53 provisions, those that have worked on the criminal conviction guidelines is aware that TDLR is governed by the Chapter 53, our Chapter 51, and your 455. You read them in harmony together. This Chapter 53 change impacts all agencies. This is a practice that we've never engaged in, but there were some agencies that were engaging in. And it just simply says, hey, agency, you can't use an arrest that did not result in a conviction against somebody. So there were some agencies that were getting that data and saying, yeah, but you were a bad person, but if that arrest did not result in a conviction, you can't use it against them. We know our criminal conviction guidelines clearly say conviction or deferred adjudication. We can use that. Mr. Chairman, those are the bills I wanted to bring to your attention. Very quickly, I want to touch on the appropriations. Again, we are waiting for House Bill 1, which the appropriations for all agencies, to go through this period, the veto period that the governor has. But today, all things being equal, today the agency would receive $1.9 million to build a new licensing system as opposed to the 9 different licensing systems that we currently have. Usually when we take on new programs, we're inheriting that licensing system, and my team does an incredible job of trying to make the best of all those different situations. This is going to position our agency to become even more efficient in the future, working from the same system, being able to gather the same data, et cetera, online interactions, all that good stuff. You heard Chloe talk about some improvements that were made for our ability to download information. Well, just imagine if we had that across all of our programs. Those are the type of things that we're looking at. A massage licensing program will be one of the first candidates that we convert. We want to get our high volume programs. I think it's 77% of all of our licensees: cosmetology, electricians, barber, and massage. Pretty much those 4 groups. You can throw air conditioning if you want to. But those 4 groups constitute the bulk of our licensed populations, and massage constitutes the bulk or the largest group in our VERSA system, which is one that we newly inherited. The other provision is to combat human trafficking through strengthened enforcement and increased collaboration. As I told you before, it's not just a massage program, y'all. I mean, we have the nail salon program, we have electricians, we have air conditioning contractors. Our agency is in a unique position to help combat this scourge that is human trafficking. The legislature gave money to every agency that had in its request, we want to do something against human trafficking, whether it was the Department of State Health Services, whether it was the AG's office, whether it was TABC, they also had some information. That's the agency. Texas, unfortunately, we're number 1, or we're number 2, given the day, on human trafficking in this state. We have some work to do. This is going to allow us to have a group that, while Tanya's resources are focused on our legitimate operators and doing the inspections of those, we're going to have a group that's just targeting those illicit massage businesses, those that are on rub maps and those other horrible social media paths that are out there that just really just make me sick to my stomach. We'll have a team that's just dedicated on those. So we're going to be taking that out, but treating our group of folks that are legitimately licensed the way they should. But we're going to go after those folks. And we're going to have investigators, and we're going to have cyber data going after them, and we're going to have information specialists providing an attack on those individuals and just trying to stay ahead of the game on that. Those are our two primary areas. Will TDLR grow? We'll see. There are two bills that could bring new programs to the agency. One is Senate Bill 1616, which would bring the motorcycle safety program from DPS to TDLR. That would fit in very perfectly with our driver education program. And the other one, if it is signed into law or allows to go into law without signature, is Senate Bill 2119, which would move the regulation of motor fuel dispensers underneath TDLR, which the way I've described it, it looks and acts just like our elevator program. The dispenser that you go and get your gas from, that's the building. And each of those pumps are the elevators inside the building, and they're done by third-party inspectors. So we have the ability to manage that program. Both of those would not come to TDLR until September 1 of 2020. So we have time to build and plan for those. Mr. Chairman, those are all the comments I have in a brief I think it was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I just went just a little bit over.
Yeah. Great. Advisory board members, any questions for Mr. Francis?
Russell Rust, I'd like to make one comment. I appreciate all the tools that have been given to you to regulate. I agree with most of those tools. My only disagreement from the profession is these bills are passed under the premises of fighting human trafficking and prostitution. That's very unfortunate that in order for Texas or for these tools to be given to you, it's under that facade that that's what the how and I know that has nothing to do with TDLR. That is the legislators' possession, using those words to get a bill passed. And that's just unfortunate that we could work with you guys, we could work with legislators, and we'd be accepting a lot of these things that would help our profession, us look more professional in the eyes of the public. But unfortunately, when the human trafficking, prostitution, and the reason for these bills to be passed is to combat that, just gives us a black eye.
Gives
And
those bills.
we really have to, understand that's just, it's acceptable, that's the way we have to live, but unfortunately, those are the words that are chosen.
Board Member Russ, one of the things that I'm committed to doing, and we've got our media person back there, Tila, we're going to make sure that our messaging always has a separation. We are going to go out of our way to make a distinction and let folks know about the value and the virtue of massage therapists that do things that heal. They heal our public. They provide a beautiful service. And we're going to work hard to make that distinction. And Tila is significantly smarter than I could ever dream of being, and she has a way with helping us position that. But we will make sure that we separate those messages and those themes as we move forward. And if we fall short again, let us know, and we'll just continue to try to hone that separation of message. But it is tough. That's the only way you get the money.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know if we can help.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Chairman Lauterstein?
Yes.
Mary Winston, TDLR.
Hi,
I'm going
Mary.
to do the last section of this executive report. So our executive director can shimmy out of the room. He's shimmying. Okay. So the last bit on C of the executive report talks about communication outreach statistics. And this is just a snapshot of our communication with you, really your communication with us. And we keep this information. We haven't put it into a scientific formula, but it just gives us a heads up of what's going on out there. Over the past 6 months, from December 1 through May 31st, the massage therapist website has had 165, 309 page views. So that's an average of 908 a day. 49% of those visitors access the site from the desktop computer, 46 from the smartphone, and 5% from a tablet. We also have the top 5 reasons that the licensees from massage therapy reach out to us. Number 1, how to renew an existing massage license. 2, administrative rules. 3, examination requirements. 4, how to apply for a new license. And 5, frequently asked questions. And we're currently just gathering the information. We're looking at it. We'll tweak what we have out there as numbers go up and down, but we wanted you to know kind of what's going on and what your fellow licensees, what information you're looking for.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, also, I'm sorry, our executive director was talking about different bills that could be signed, and actually, Senate Bill 616, the motorcycle, has been signed. It's one that Brian just said would fit right into our model. The governor did sign that late yesterday evening.
Okay.
So
Does that cover
TLR
massage
bros.
therapists on motorcycles?
Don't give him any
All
ideas.
right. Okay. Let me see here. Thank you so much. All right. So I believe now we would hear from the Enforcement Division. So, thank you.
Chairman, advisory board members, if you'll allow, I got parts just listening to Brian. Get that man some electrolytes. God told me to, Brian. I had to do it. Anyway, the chairman, advisory board members, my name is Chris Funderburg. I'll present enforcement's report to you today. First, I'm going to touch on enforcement's duties, current activities, and related to massage therapy profession. Then I'll discuss statistics derived from our regulatory actions to give you a general overview of enforcement's activities. Then I'll go over a few now closed cases, as I believe they help illustrate enforcement's regulatory activities in the massage therapy profession. So first, I'm going to turn to our current projects, the first page of the report. As several of you know, on March 19th, we met with enforcement work group to develop penalty matrices for this program. This work group, consisting of 4 members of the advisory board, Antonio Gracia, Raymond Rust, Kara Willis, and Karen Vasquez, were instrumental in developing these matrices. And in fact, both matrices will be, the fruit of their labor will be the cherry on top of this advisory board Sunday this afternoon, which is a metaphor that I did not expect. And the second current project is April 17th. A representative of the Austin Police Department, Sergeant Kevin Covington, who works on APD's human trafficking unit, stopped by and shared his experiences in the human trafficking business and the potential signs that that department staff can witness and report back as potential human trafficking incidents. Now, and now statistics. So, on the last page of your report, you'll see statistics derived from enforcement's regulatory activities. I won't go into too much detail, but, excuse me. As you can see, within the periods beginning September 1st, 2018 and ending April 2019, massage therapy cases are about 11% of all TDR cases open. During that same period, 814 cases were closed out of the compared to 856 open, so we're almost at parity. Of those 856 cases closed, 96 were resolved by agreement, which is our preferred method of resolution. As you can see, one of the reasons for that preference, when you compare the penalties assessed to the penalties collected, more than 75% of the penalties that we've assessed were collected, which must be some kind of record. The next, moving past statistics, I'll just talk about the cases now on the first page of your report. This is typically where I say, I've chosen these cases to illustrate that enforcement's role isn't punitive. We don't seek to punish. We rather want to bring licensees and potential licensees into compliance with rules and regulations. Would prefer to grow our licensee class rather than shrink it. That said, 3 of these cases today involve revocation. So, but I think when you look at the facts of these cases, you'll see why. Just in general, enforcement actions are primarily tools. We help to ensure our respondents return to a straight and narrow path. But when you come upon cases like you'll be seeing, revocation is a must. The first case that I've chosen, New Shanghai Spa. These were 2 separate incidents. Both violations resulted from an executed search warrant from the Georgetown Police Department. One is a charge against the respondent owner for aggravated promotion of prostitution. The second for an employee on the premises who is engaging in prostitution. I brought this case to you to illustrate that 2 sources of liability exist for this individual, one as an individual practitioner and the second as a business owner. As you can see, due to the severity of these allegations, the business's license was revoked and he paid a $6,000 fine. The next case, Relax, I only bring up because this is a good example of our investigators' diligence in tracking down evidence that shows individuals claiming to perform reflexology services were actually performing massage therapy. And because of the evidence that they were able to discover, we were able to get a negotiated settlement of more than $5,000. The last 2 cases, when I pick these, I sometimes forget that I have to read them out loud, and I don't want to. So I'm going to instead just kind of gloss over the gross aspects of it. In the 7619, 7627 is 3 instances of sexual assault. The only reason I bring this to your attention is because this was a case resolved by default. It was just the best kind of resolution because they don't show up, and because of that, and because of these now factual allegations, we've revoked his license. Now, and then the third, again, I'll gloss over the actual act, but revocations at law are allowed if there's a conviction for sexual assault. However, in this case, the conviction was for assault by contact. Assault by contact just means an offensive touching. However, in this case, the assault by contact, the actual act had a sexual predicate, and so that sexual predicate brought it in line with 455.152A. We are able to classify it as a sexual offense and thus revoke this respondent's license by operation of law. That is, he has no opportunity to contest this. It is done. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you.
I have one question, Russell.
Sure.
Question, and kind of got some of what I was looking for answered. But when you deal with these criminal convictions, these are not criminal convictions with TDLR. These are administrative penalties. Well, most of those say they're a Class B misdemeanor. Those are not ever turned over to any prosecutors on the county or city level. So what happens once you do this? Then the respondent or the person that you actually gave the penalty to turns around 2-3 months later and they're getting a massage establishment license again because by the rules that are in place, they do not have a criminal conviction. So how do you understand where I'm and I've already kind of got this answered just a little bit,
okay.
But I'm still a little confused. Here she comes.
Oh.
Because this is a growing anxiety for us as massage therapists and profession, thinking we're filing a complaint on somebody that's in violation, they get an administrative penalty. That administrative penalty doesn't really give them a criminal conviction, so we're trying to figure out how to take that to the next level so that these people are not allowed to get a license again.
And we are also doing the same thing. A lot of it depends on the local. We can't answer any specific cases. A lot of this depends on the local law enforcement. Enforcement is working with local law enforcement in several jurisdictions to explain to them and to get information from them as to how we can make referrals more efficiently, how we can inform them, and how we can help them prosecute if they can. Again, this is a problem of the fact that there are a lot more people doing bad things than there are law enforcement people trying to prevent it. We are working on the problem. It's not something that we can answer quickly right now. But a lot of it does depend on the receptivity of the local law enforcement, and a lot more of it depends on the resources of local law enforcement. Is there anything else I can answer for you?
No, ma'am, you've answered that. Just going back in 2005, Representative Van Chia in Dallas got the law enforcement together to say, hey, what can we do to combat this? They put a lot of language into the law, and I know that only applies to a peace officer applying this, not dishes at the time or TDLR. Every time I've called the police, as I thought, that's what the language in the bill was wanting me to do. The police have turned me away or referred me to, at the time, calling Department of State Health Services with that kind of complaint, yet the tools were put in place. And I know you're not law enforcement. If we're going to help, and like I said, we're the ones that know where these illicit places are. A lot of people are not turning in anything because they understand nothing's going to be done. So that's where we're standing, and I know you say y'all are working on that combination or how to do that. We will give you the opportunity, knowing that that is what you're working on, because just like you, we're wanting these entities to, not disgrace the words of massage or what a professional practitioner does do. Okay?
Chris Funderburg, Enforcement. And I should point out that the massage statute allows for a criminal conviction for unlicensed activity. And so the trend that I've been seeing in cases is, especially in the Houston area, the police are actually arresting individuals for operating a massage establishment without a license, and that in turn can be used by us in our own administrative actions as well. So that may be some sort of feedback loop that
Texas
gets
is a big state, though. Houston is just.
Yeah.
But I understand the human trafficking in that part is a little more prevalent on a coastal town than it is in some of the other areas.
I agree. Yeah, that's definitely what it seems to be.
Okay.
Or port cities, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Okay, could we have the report from the Field Inspections Division? Going once? Is someone in particular who's?
Right here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it must be my optic nerve or myopia. I'm not sure which.
It's fine. Good afternoon, Chairman, Board. Thank you for being here today. My name is Julianne Crocker. I'm representing the Field Inspections Division.
Okay.
For our report, we present to you our top violations that are found during our inspections. If there's any questions about those, you can kind of see many of them pertain to consultation documentation. I'd like to let you know about our recent accomplishments. We've been working very closely with our Strategic Response Coordinator, Jennifer Harless. She's been helping us with training and identifying, documenting human trafficking. So we thank Jennifer for her guidance and providing excellent opportunities for us. We've got quite a few personnel updates within our division. We've had 2 of our inspectors be promoted to investigators with our enforcement division. So congratulations to Jack Phillips and Robin Finney. We got to welcome back one of our inspectors, Jorge Vega. And we had to say goodbye to one of our region managers, Joe Carrasco. He's pursuing opportunities in another state. So we do have a posting for that position. We'll be holding interviews this week, as a matter of fact. And we do have several inspector positions open. And those have been filled, and we look forward to welcoming them and introducing them to you at the next meeting. You can see our statistics. To date, we have completed 535 massage inspections of establishments and 18 this year of massage schools. Any questions?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been requested that we take a short break, just for, till, say, 2:30. And so feel free to refresh yourselves, and we'll see you back at 2:30. Everybody. By the way, I just want to announce that it was pointed out to me that whereas on my advisory board roster list here, that there was one person who had been omitted who is absent, and that was the position that was viewed as vacant. That is Roberta Hudson, who, along with Antonio Gracia, is not here today as board member, but we still have a quorum. Just wanted to announce that she's not here, just to be official. Okay, great. So, and I'd like to call up the report from the Regulatory Program Management Division.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. We're both going to be here. I'm just going to introduce Jerry to both of y'all, or the advisory board.
I know Jerry.
My name is Marinelle Lafleur. I'm the deputy for Bar Cause and Massage Program. And I want to introduce Jerry. Jerry is our new massage therapy, barber, cosmetology program specialist in the RPM business and professional section. His duties began March 1st, I believe, and is the lead on the massage therapy program, assisting Jennifer Harless in our human trafficking initiatives, assisting Elizabeth Bettis and myself with barber and cosmetology as well. Jerry comes to us from Education and Examination Division and has over 28 years of experience in massage therapy. So we'd like to welcome Jerry.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Jerry Gonzalez, as Marinella mentioned. I'm glad to be back and haven't left the massage program, still been in the middle of it and assisting where I can. And that leads us to our report today. We've done several things during the, since March when I've come in. Before I got here, Marinella and Elizabeth both finalized the equivalency table for, for the transcripts, out-of-state transcripts that come in. That's being used right now, as they mentioned in the licensing report. Elizabeth and I also attended a enforcement work group meeting on March 19th to develop and help with the penalty matrix for the massage program. Elizabeth, Marinella, and I also attended a meeting with the Education Examination Division with the Federation, came in and explained an overview of what they did and how they could assist the state and assist us in the exam that they're providing. Marinella, Elizabeth, and myself also attended another work group with examination and the Education Division, the proposed rules that they're looking into maybe for the change for the massage schools. And during the session, we also provided a lot of research and information for the executive office and legislative inquiries. And to date, all of us are still helping assist with the enforcement, field inspection, licensing, and customer service questions that arise during investigations, inspections, and then the general day-to-day operations and questions that we assist with. And that's our report for the RPM division. Is there anything we can answer for you? We'd be happy to.
Yeah. Any comments or questions? Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did it? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Oh. I gotcha. Okay. Thank you. And we did have the executive office report. So now it'd be examination and education work group update.
No, you go ahead.
No, no.
I'm just here to answer any
Oh.
questions.
And this would be, Carolyn, you were going to say something. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have been reviewing the rules in subchapter F of chapter 117 and reviewing the school curriculum topics for relevance.
That is correct. Very good. I just wanted to mention that since House Bill 1865 was signed last night, then that will be our education work group's next job, is helping to add those rules to subchapter F, and there will be some addition of those rules to, of course, the licensing portion as well. But just wanted to remind you, since that was signed, that's going to be our next project. So we will be contacting you shortly to schedule that meeting so that we can go ahead and start that process as well. And we'll start working on the procedures of the programming system. And even though Brian mentioned shears and cosmetology and barber, your massage will have your own program. You're not going to share with another industry. You'll have your own isolated program, but we'll work directly with all 60 schools and make sure that everyone knows what to do and how to do it.
Good.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Good?
I was going to ask a
Paul?
question about that. I know that the reading over, it sounds like it allows for a fee. Do we know what that fee will be at this point, and who will be responsible for paying that fee?
The fee will most likely probably be $25, and that strictly pays for any printing if the agency has to print it, and then for the use of the system, because we're adding that personal information in there. But it wouldn't be any more than that, I don't believe. And that would be something, of course, that we will vote on, we'll evaluate to make a final determination. And then that will be up to the school owners to decide. Either you can pay that cost, or you can pass that cost on to the student.
That's per person?
Thank you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Good?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have here discussion and possible action to recommend approval of updates to criminal conviction guidelines. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. Trevor Thielen. I'm an attorney with the Enforcement Division, and I'm one of 2 attorneys that focuses solely on our criminal history-based cases. So you've heard from Brian, you've heard from Chris Funderburg a little earlier in this meeting about what we do in those actions. When those actions are taken, there's a 50% chance it's coming across my desk. And what we're here today to talk about is improving one of the tools that we commonly use in almost all of those cases, the criminal conviction guidelines. The last time this board talked about the massage criminal conviction guidelines was on July 17th of 2018. And what they are is essentially something that we have been charged under the law with developing in consultation with people in the industry, our advisory boards. It's a list of those categories of offenses that highlight, you know what, if somebody has this offense, we may be concerned about them having a license or not. And we have to state the reasons why those types of offenses are concerning to us. So it helps me as a prosecutor. Every day I get a big stack of DPS criminal histories, and some of those are going to be massage ones. And I'm looking through them, I'm comparing to the criminal conviction guidelines, and I'm pulling out the very few out of that big stack that I'm saying, you know what, these few are the ones we're concerned about here today. Let's start an investigation and see if it warrants either denying the initial license or revoking the current license that those people have. You approved the initial draft of our criminal conviction guidelines last July. That went and got published in the Texas Register. It got considered by the Commission of Licensing and Regulation, and on their September 25th meeting, they actually officially approved those criminal conviction guidelines. And I can tell you there's been at least 3 cases that have gone to SOA, the State Office of Administrative Hearings, since then. And in each of those cases, those criminal conviction guidelines, we introduced those as exhibits. That's our evidence to the judge that, look, the people in the industry, us, we've thought about this, and you, judge, you still have to apply it to the facts of this particular person to make sure that we're justified in taking some action against them. But this is evidence that these types of crimes can be concerning for massage therapists. And simply having a crime that's on the list, I just want to add, that doesn't disqualify for you from being in the industry. We look at how long it's been since then, what they do with their life, the severity of the particular offense based off its individual facts. Each of these cases gets an individualized look. But as we've been working through these cases, we noticed a couple small areas where we think that the criminal conviction guidelines could be improved, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And before I get into the individual improvements that we're suggesting, I want to talk to you about the approach we took when we were drafting the language. We always start from the concern that I think is shared by some of the people in the audience. It was expressed by Brian a little earlier. We don't want to paint the industry in a bad light. So when we write these reasons why these types of offenses might be concerning, it's always with the qualifier that these are concerns we have about people who have demonstrated they have a predisposition for committing this type of offense. By definition, these people have gone to criminal court. They've been proven or have admitted to doing these things before I have any power to use those offenses in one of my cases. So we've tried to tailor the language to make that clear, not to say in every massage establishment we're concerned about X. We're saying those individuals who may do X might have a better ability to do X if they hold this type of license, and that's why we're concerned about it. So with all of that said, I wanted to get into them. We've made additions to we've made an addition to one category. The first is to crimes involving prohibited sexual conduct. This was already a reason why a license could be denied, and some of these, like Mr. Funderburg talked about earlier, we can deny by operation of law. And when we can't, we need the reasons to better explain to our SOA judges and to the commission how a sexual offense is particularly a concern for someone holding a massage establishment license or a massage therapist license. So we've added a reason here, a new number 4, that we think accomplishes that. That's a relatively small change. The bigger change is the entirely new category of crimes involving human trafficking that we have added. And it seems like we didn't have crimes involving human trafficking in here already. That's surprising to me. We did mention the statute, Occupations Code 455-152A, that specifically says these Texas Penal Code human trafficking offenses are just automatically, your license is revoked or you're disqualified from having a license. It says ineligible. We did mention that in the context of the prohibited sexual conduct crimes, but we don't have something that's distinct just about human trafficking, because as Brian illustrated, forced labor is also often a component of a human trafficking operation. You can't necessarily prove a sexual component or intent to exploit somebody through prostitution or something else, sex slavery, in every human trafficking case. So we thought about that, and we also thought about the fact that we've mentioned our Texas Penal Code sections on human trafficking, but not recognized that those laws are different than our federal laws on human trafficking. I'm going to way simplify things. On the federal level, all you have to prove to have a human trafficking case is that somebody brought somebody else into the country illegally. That's it. In the Texas Penal Code, to do a human trafficking case, you got to prove that, plus you've got to prove that it was with the intent of putting them into sex slavery or exploiting them in some other way, or that they actually did end up in that. I think, as a prosecutor, if I've got the choice of which one to prove or which place I'm going to send that case to, I'm probably going to go to the feds. And I think my prediction is we're going to see more of those federal-type cases, and we don't want those to slip through the cracks. We're still going to look at the facts of those individual cases, make sure our concerns are justified. But this new section is designed to cover that spot where we've only got a federal offense or we've only got an offense from another state, but it is human trafficking and it does carry the concerns that we have against the type of licensees we're trying to stop from infecting the industry. So The first reason that we put down here essentially tries to describe the conditions of human trafficking victims and why those people might be particularly vulnerable individuals in the context of the massage industry. It talks about their lack of legal immigration status, money, ability to speak English fluently, why they might be targets for human traffickers. And then it talks about how a license under Chapter 455, a massage license, might provide a person who's intending to exploit those types of people a reason to go after them. The second reason explains that a little more expansively. It describes common aspects of massage establishments. Particularly, you've got lots of rooms that are closed off from public view. And that arrangement could enable persons who have a predisposition to exploit those folks, you know, a ready-made facility that kind of hides that stuff. It's a little easier to keep it secret there in some of the massage establishments that we see.
Can I ask one question?
Yes,
Going
sir.
back to number one. A license under the chapter could provide a person with a history of committing trafficking. If a person's being smuggled into the country and doesn't speak English, they've had no education or anything to be able to obtain a license. Who is it that would have the license that would make this vulnerable?
We're concerned about the owner
Establishment.
of massage establishment.
Okay, you're not talking about the particular person that has been smuggled into the country.
No, that's not what we were
Oh, okay,
referring to
okay.
here.
Just making
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank
We're
you.
talking about the person taking advantage of that person.
Okay.
And it might not be the owner on paper, the owner on the license, but it
Right.
could be somebody who, because they're involved in that, because they're at the massage establishment all the time, they might seek to have a massage therapist license as well.
Okay, okay.
To just be a cover for their involvement in going in and out of that building all the time and working with whoever they're working with. The second reason, I think I explained, it just describes those common elements of many massage establishments that make it a little easier to do that. The third reason, it's just trying to kind of close the loop of establishing how the access that the person has. We talked about explanation of a license might be a good explanation for why this person's going in and out, in and out, and in and out of this building all the time. So we want to make sure that people aren't using that just simply as a cover for human trafficking operation. And then the last section, Section 4, essentially does what the earlier sections we already did in the first version did, which is essentially just restate the Occupations Code section that specifically references the Texas Penal Code human trafficking problem and how that makes you ineligible for a license. Everything else, let me make absolutely sure, we haven't touched anything else in the criminal conviction guidelines as approved by the board and the commission last year. Beyond that, those are the only changes we want to make. So if you approve this, again, it will get printed in the Texas Register. It will go to the commission, and they can adopt it, modify it. They can take into consideration any improvements that you may have or comments that you have to give me today, but it would put us on a better footing in future cases that maybe involve just very particular facts and enable us to do more against human traffickers. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Thank you for your work.
All right, Russell Rust, are we going to approve this, or do we need to do this now?
Yes, you
Okay.
need to.
I make a motion to approve the changes.
I'll second it. Caroline Guerin.
Is there any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Passes unanimously. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to recommend approval of the penalty matrix for the massage therapy program. Welcome back.
Pleasure to be here again. So, Chairman and board members,
Chairman Lauderstein, I just
Excuse
wanted to, we can't hear it in the room, but I know you gave us a reminder earlier, but the conversation at the dais,
Yes.
they can hear it upstairs. So,
Yes.
just want to make sure, everybody says that it's been wonderful comments so far, but just want to make sure that we know these mics are very
We're
powerful.
all aware.
Yes.
And Paul informs me, I'm not a parliamentary expert, and he sometimes consults with me about when I should be doing discussion or calling for motion. So I appreciate his help, and that's all it was
Thank
about,
you
just
so much,
FYI.
Mr. Stone.
Sure, thank you. Hi, welcome back.
No, sir, no, sir. I'm sorry. We can't take discussion from the floor. Okay, but we can't ask if we're not, we have public comment during the public comment time, and because we have to post these agendas and we have to follow rules for the APA and open meetings and so forth, and the governor just signed something, what bill is it that he just signed about walking quorums? So they're very serious, 16, what is it? But anyway, it's our definition of walking quorums, and which we've 1640, which we've discussed before. So I'm just highlighting that as to the severity of what that is. It's not us, it's the law, and we just are here to regulate and to abide by it. So if there are questions, we'll talk offline afterwards, but we have to keep this level of formality because it's just the law.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Enforcement submitted 2 penalty matrices for your review. Both matrices identify and classify violations of the laws and rules governing massage therapy. The first focuses on violations committed by individuals and businesses. The second on violations committed by massage therapy schools and massage therapy instructors. As noted in the enforcement staff report, Antonio Gracia Jr., Russell Russ, Karen Vasquez, and Harold Willis met with the enforcement staff on March 19th, 2019 to help complete the drafts before you, along with members of our RPM division as well. At the end of this presentation, I'll ask this board to recommend that, to the commission, that it adopt both matrices. To provide some context for your decision, I'll discuss the penalty matrix in general, both what it is and what it isn't. First, the penalty matrix is a point of reference that identifies all potential violations of the statutory laws and rules, administrative rules governing a program regulated by the department. Once identified, these violations are arranged by severity and then are grouped into classes, with the least severe in Class A and the most severe, in this case, in the case of massage therapy, in Class D. Each class is then assigned to a range of penalties and sanctions. The range sets the minimum and maximum that the department can seek for a violation assigned to that class. While enforcement takes every violation seriously, the penalty matrix structure reflects the department's priorities to prevent harm and further public safety. Does an unlicensed activity violation or violations that threaten the health of Texas citizens end up classified into the higher ranges of penalties and sanctions? Depending on the evidence, a prosecutor can choose how many violations to allege and whether to set the penalty at the low or high end of that range. Thus, in addition to serving as a catalog of violations available to both department personnel and to the public, the penalty matrix also helps ensure that penalties remain relatively consistent between the attorneys. That said, there are several things that the penalty matrix doesn't do. It doesn't create new law. Rather, it just catalogs violations that already exist. It doesn't reach to all aspects of a prosecutor's duty. It only comes into play if we decide to pursue formal contested case action, seeking a penalty or license sanction. Warning, other informal resolutions are outside this matrix. Finally, when the commission is making its final decision in a contested case, as is their right to do, they are not bound by the penalty ranges assigned by the matrix. So this ends the monologue part of the presentation. At this point, I believe you should have the 2 penalty matrices before you. They're also up there. I'm happy to go through them line by line or by category and answer any questions that you might have.
Hey, Chris, real quickly, if you don't mind, state your name for the record. You felt
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris Vandenberg, Enforcement Division. I'm happy to read this at you, but I think they're probably the basic structure. I think is fairly straightforward. As you can see, there are multiple categories within each penalty range. Sometimes you'll see the same categories pop up. For example, massage therapies and establishments. You'll see administrative violations show up in Class A and Class B. these were just these different severity of administrative violations necessitated them being split into two different penalty classes. But aside from that, through the assistance of the work group, we were really able to, I think, drill down to all of the violations that I'll say 90. I don't ever want to say that we forgot all of them, but most of the violations that exist in the laws and rules, and now have a guidepost to how to prosecute them.
So I just have a question.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the first one that's mentioned is under administrative violations in Class A. It says fail to timely provide department with continuing education information, and the penalty being somewhere between $500 and $1,000. I just want to make sure. Does that mean that $500 would be the least that would be charged, or that would be minimally mandatory?
Yeah, and there's also an element of discretion on whether to prosecute a particular violation. If this particular violation was deemed by a prosecutor that something that they wanted to pursue via contested case method, then yes, the minimum penalty that we would seek to assess from the respondent would be $500. That said, if there are circumstances surrounding this violation that indicate that this is not something that we necessarily want to take to a penalty, we do have discretion to just resolve it informally.
Yeah, good, thanks. It was important.
Russell Rust, I make a motion to accept the penalty metrics.
Paul pointed out that I believe you said discussion should precede the motion.
When he's finished, Paul Stone, I was just commenting to the chairman that once the speaker's finished, that the chairman should call for discussion, asking board members whether they want to discuss the item prior to a motion being made.
Thank
And then after a motion and then a second, you need to call for a vote,
Yeah.
all those yea.
Great. I appreciate that. So, any discussion now with the report being complete? No? Okay, thank you. And there's a motion.
Russell Rust, make a motion to accept the penalty matrix.
Second.
Paul Stone, second.
Oh, Paul Stone, second. And voice vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None. Abstaining? None. It passes.
All right.
And thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Now, I believe that takes us to the recommendation for agenda items for the next board meeting. Are there any particular recommendations?
Colleen Tran, Assistant General Counsel. Mr. Larstein, we'll definitely have some work reports on the work that we've been doing from the legislative implementation, so that will definitely be one, and as needed, we can add at a later time.
Okay. Any from the advisory board, any recommendations for agenda items for the next meeting?
Question, would an agenda item be the rules that we discussed about adding the massage establishment license number to the outside of the building, and also the publication of a rules booklet that is given to the therapist, and they would have a copy of that on hand?
So those are things that definitely could go to work groups for discussion, and then they could be reported back on the discussion that was had. From there, and any action that we would go forward would take the normal course if there are rule changes that need to come from that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And just for everybody's clarification, the work groups that are spoken of usually consist of 4 members of the advisory board, and those meetings are attended by, a number of other people representing TDLR, and, they meet periodically, just so you know what are these work groups. Cool. So, it seems it's time to discuss the date for a future meeting. And if you have some suggestions.
What's the length? Are we going to look at 4 months or longer?
So there are a couple of things. We can look, it would have to be past September because legislation, I've been working on the rules that would kind of drive our meetings. This is Colleen Tran, Assistant General Counsel. So we're looking maybe September, October, but do we have any date suggestions?
We can poll Mary Winston, TDLR, because as we heard other staff members say, now new work is going to begin for these work groups, and as the governor signs different bills and as those dates pass, we will have more and more to discuss. We don't think we should have anything before September, October, likely October, but before that time, we'll poll the board in plenty of time, not breaking any quorum rules, to get a date, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so it won't be set at this time, but we will as soon as we can.
Unless we're going to celebrate a birthday party, it can't be October 8th.
October.
Okay.
Well, we may just have to have a party. Mr. Rose.
right.
Let me make a note of that.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Thanks, TDLR. Thank you, advisory board members. And there needs to be a motion.
Make a motion for the, end the meeting.
All right.
Caroline Guerra,
Do I have
I'll
a second to that emotion?
I do.
Are we in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Yes, we are. Any no votes? No. I know it's been captivating, but we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.